Hello, everybody. I'm Valerie Gilchrist, and this is Esther's Purpose. I am so excited about my guest tonight. And I know you guys always say she's excited about everybody. I am. I really am. But I'm extra special excited about Altaviz Pelzer, who we're going to have on tonight, because her and I are kind of kindred spirits, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a minute. But before I introduce her, I want to remind our viewing and listening audience that Esther's Purpose, we're being on from WYTV7 is where we broadcast out of Charlotte, North Carolina. You all know that we are a nonprofit organization, so we do take donations. You can go to WYTV7.org, click that donate button, and donate so that we can continue to bring our guests on, to bring encouragement around the world, because there's so many people struggling and going through so many things. And so when I bring my guests on, my guests never leave the show and not bring some light in to your struggle. So I want you to pay attention closely as we are listening to Altaviz tell us about not only her story, but what she's doing now currently, even though she went through those struggles. So I want you all to pay attention, okay? So let me introduce her now to you. I've watched her a long time on social media. So you guys know I get excited about all my guests, right? But I'm really excited about her. Hold on, let me introduce her, and then you'll see what I'm talking about. Altaviz Pelzer is a best-selling author, professional speaker, live streamer, life coach, and founder of the World Voice League. She also hosts the Speak Easy podcast, your #1 podcast for unscripted perspectives on becoming and staying a successfully paid author or speaker. Altaviz is a contributing author to the #1 best-selling book, Speak Up, The Ultimate Guide to Dominate in the Speaking Industry. Check out what world-renowned speaking legend Dr. George Fraser and Les Brown, who wrote the foreword and afterword for the book, had to say. Now, I'm going to skip down and read the end of her bio, because we're going to read those on the air, okay, while we're interviewing with her. So hold on for that. At her core, Altaviz is a mom of 4 that will break out into impromptu dance parties. I can believe that. I totally can believe that. Take a beach trip or read a book. Homelessness and molestation greatly affected Altaviz. She hit a turning point in her personal life after decades of being silent about her molestation story, even after finding out both her girls were molested. This was the catalyst for her decision to motivate women to leverage their life circumstances by learning to love their voice. She takes women from abuse to applause by equipping them to define, accept, and use their voice as a speaker, author, or entrepreneur. Audience, get ready. Altaviz Pelzer. Altaviz, how are you tonight?
Oh my goodness. So I am super excited to be here. Oh, I'm like through the roof. I always love doing interviews.
Yes, ma'am. So we are going to talk about this book. You all know that I had Brian Oles on last week. You know, he was on and he was talking about the book, and we told you that there are 32 contributing authors, and Altaviz Pelzer is one of them. So we'll talk about this, but we're going to talk about this a little bit later. We're going to talk about her first. So Altaviz, with all of those things that I just read about that you were doing, you did not start there, though. So let them know where you started.
So I was that dreamer. I was always that person that would create vision boards and want to do something great. But in the here and now, in that moment, I was the people pleaser, the woman that was living paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure things out, trying to just understand what was going on. I am a victor over molestation, as well as the mother of 2 teen girls who are victors over molestation. And no one knew that I had been molested until I was 35, so until 2015. So after my girls had been molested, so it was a process of me trying to help them through healing and the process of going through understanding what they had been through and trying to, go past it and be that overcomer. But I hadn't even been healed because it wasn't something that I had discussed with anyone. So it was a huge battle that nobody really understood. But because I was the people pleaser, I was always the one pushing everyone else to do what was, something grand, do something amazing, step out of yourself, step outside of your comfort zone. So it's interesting that, people always ask about me becoming the life coach, that I am now, because that's what I had been doing way back in high school. That's always what I had been doing. I had always had people coming to me and telling me about what was going on in their lives, and just strangers would come up and tell me their whole life stories. And so 2015 was when I had that conversation. I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to write the first book. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start my business, or rebrand my business. At the time, I was doing side jobs and, virtual assistant services and everything still behind the scenes, right? Mm-hmm. But we know that when you say you're going to do something, all heck kind of breaks loose to say, are you really going to do it? And so December 31st of 2015, I was evicted from my home. So here I am, single mother, 4 teenagers, with her preteens, teens at that point. And I'm like, here we are again in this same, the same cycle, right back on the hamster wheel. And the next day I had a decision to make. Do I do what I always do and have my pity party? Do I do what I always do and feel sorry for myself and have that woe is me conversation with everyone? Or do I go on this trip that I decided to go on, that I had already planned? And I said, even in the midst of everything I'm going through, I'm going to take this trip. I go ahead, I take the trip. First flight, no problem. Second flight, ticket has nothing on the ticket. I said, okay, all right, well, let me go ahead to the booth. I let them know. They said, just go in with group 2. I said, all right. They call up group 2 and I get in line and they call my name on the loudspeaker. So I got to go back to the booth. So I'm like, oh, they going to tell me I got to get on a different flight or something crazy. They hand me a brand new ticket, and the brand new ticket is first class.
Wow.
I said, oh, okay. My first time ever being in a first class seat, but it was literally what someone had prayed over me and prophesied over me years before. And so here I am now, I'm in a first class seat. Wow. Oh my goodness. But what would have happened if I had not have done it? If I would have went back and had my pity party and decided I wasn't going to go, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, let me circle back just a little bit and ask you a question. How were you able, and because I do it and I still do it, but I want you to answer this. How were you able to help your girls when you hadn't helped yourself first?
I think as parents, we have this, this inner strength where we kind of put up this barrier around ourselves for whatever is going wrong against us. And we just kind of, hide that stuff away. We put up the little screen so nobody can really see that. But we have this inner strength that allows us to go in and go forward and do some amazing things for our family and those that we love, those who are closest to us. At the time, I tell everyone that I have 4 teens. 3 of those teens are my children, and one is my youngest sister. So I was in the process of fighting for custody of her. And you fight in those moments, but you don't always fight for ourselves the same way. Mm-hmm. For us, we need somebody to sometimes give us a little kick in the tush or, a little push and motivation for us to fight for ourselves. And it's because, we've been told that if we cry, we're weak. We've been told that if we talk about what we're going through, then we're complaining. And so we just kind of swallow it all and try to move forward. And so in that time, it was only God that kept me through it. only. When I tell you that the prayers that I was praying, and I actually have them in one of my journals, the prayers I was praying was, God, can you put men in my children's lives that are godly men, that they can see that the walk of a godly man does not have to be one where you're destitute and broken and broke. God, can you give them the friends that they need to help them get through the transitions that they're trying to make? Because when we moved here, after finding out about the girls being molested, they were still young. They were in elementary school. And so everything was new for them. They moved away from all of our family, all of our friends. It was a complete shift. And that was my prayers. It was in that time I was really deep in prayer and saying, listen, you have to make this happen. There's no other way. And literally, one of the things that I tell people is that in that span of time, I went maybe like 3 years without being able to find a job anywhere. I mean, applying all these places, nobody calling back, to people would drop food off at my house. Mm-hmm. People would be out and just see something for my children, shoes, clothes, and just pick it up. And it was literally, it's that inner strength. And we go, we fight, and we pray for somebody else, and we'll go and I mean, we'll go to the throne room for people. But that's when it's time that we have to have people that'll go through to the throne room on our behalf. And that's what it was. That was that prayer that, God, please surround us with the right people that are going to be willing to go to the throne room for us.
Amen. Amen. That's awesome. That's awesome. Because we do need help, especially those of us that are really strong people, men and women, because, we'll keep that persona up and we'll be so broken on the inside and people don't really realize it. And then, I know when, because I've been like this all my life, when I would open up a little bit to somebody, it wasn't handled right. It was always, they were shocked. Really? You did that? And which now makes you be quiet again, because you're like, okay, I thought I was going to be able, I thought you might be the one that I could actually open up and say, okay, no, okay, it wasn't you. So then you go a time, you do it again. So I get that. So thank you for sharing that. So I understood from, reading, your bio and things about what made you now be so serious about this voice, because every time I watch you on your shows and everything, you are everything's voice. Even your World Voice League. And I was trying to follow as much as I could and work and trying to catch back up, and, because you were just everywhere doing it. But, people using their voice is you're so passionate about it, them being able to do it and telling their story. And so when you're, give one little coaching secret out to our audience. If they're trying to get their voice, what would you tell? Very, very, something very easy that they could do. They have a story, especially if it's traumatic, but that you want to get it out of you and be able to help people. What is something very simple and easy that they could just start doing to just start getting it out?
So it's oftentimes that I tell people it's called a brain dump. And that's when you just sit, you turn everything off. People laugh at me because I always put my phone on Do Not Disturb and forget to turn it off. But you put the phone on Do Not Disturb, you turn off the television, you may have a little bit of like light music, but you just sit and you write. And you just brain dump. Don't worry about punctuation. Don't worry about sentence structure. Just get it all out. Not to say that it may be a book that you publish. You may never publish it. But there's a process of cleansing and healing that happens as you're writing it out and seeing it on paper. Sometimes for some people, if it's really traumatic, it may be something that you may need to write and then rip it up. Because we have to have that physical, being able to physically see ourselves destroying it in our lives. We have to sometimes see ourselves getting rid of it and throwing it away in the garbage. And it's interesting because that's one of the challenges that I did for some of my clients. I work with a lot of women that have gone through abuse. And I said, we're going to write a book this weekend. Freaked everybody out. Because they said, in a weekend? Yeah, in a weekend. But it made them sit down and just get everything out. And even if they didn't publish it that weekend, they wrote some stuff down, significant stuff. And they were able to go back, and different ones went and published books and all types of stuff. But it was a matter of, I just got to get it out. And sometimes people always think, okay, well, in my line of work, I can tell some people, okay, I need you to go to counseling before I can work with you. There's some things that are a little stronger that you need to deal with, and that's okay. You have to go to counseling. But for those that are at that point where they're like, okay, they're still uneasy about the counseling, that helps. That helps, because you can't always speak it out your mouth, but you can write it down a lot easier.
Yes, that's good. And that's absolute, because I've always been a writer too, but there came a period of time where I just didn't write. I just stopped. And it was some years before I started back writing again. And when I started writing again, it took a long time to get all that stuff back out of there, but it does. It really helps take the pressure off. So thank you for sharing all of that. That's what Esther's Purpose is about, is to go on and encourage, because we are, national and international. We never know who's listening, but we get a lot of feedback on people really enjoying the show and talking about, how it has really helped them to listen to my audience, listen to my guests come on and talk about, their struggles. So, all right. So now I'm going to do a brief talk about WYTV 7 for a second, but we're going to segue to the Morning Press and the World Voice League and speak up. So I'm Valerie Gilchrist. This is Esther's Purpose. We're broadcasting from WYTV 7. My guest today is Altaviz Pelzer. Yes, we have been enjoying listening to her today. But I want to remind our viewing and listening audience that we are a nonprofit. We do accept donations. You can go to WYTV7.org, click that donate button. We would really appreciate it, because as a nonprofit, not only do we fund what we do, but we also fund other nonprofits. So when you're giving to us, you're not just giving to WYTV7. You're giving to a lot of other nonprofits that we support. So we thank you in advance for your support. So Altaviz, let's talk about Morning Press. Tell me how you got that start. What was the mechanism that drove that for you?
So I'm an early bird, and there was this drive, this push for me to go live and just encourage people. And I started out on Periscope, and I literally would go live maybe like 6:30 in the morning, and it would just be a 30-minute segment, an hour-long segment. There's been times where I've been on for about an hour and a half, and just talking and encouraging. And it was so interesting, because when I first started out, I was trying to be all technical and have a 30-day plan and what I'm going to talk about and write it all out. And God said no. God said no. God said no, not that's not what I want you to do. And I still tried to fight it. So I would have this whole plan, and then I would wake up in the morning and I would go live, and he would just drop something in my spirit. And I would be like, all right, let me write my little notes. And so I'm big on index cards. And I will literally go and write down maybe about 5 points, or, write down something, just a main topic that he would want me to talk about for that day. And no matter what, I would get on, and there would always be someone that says, I needed this. Thank you for this message. Thank you for being so transparent. Thank you for coming on and motivating. And it was in a time where people started to monetize their broadcasts. So now they were asking for, they were selling stuff and giving out links. And so I said, well, I'm not always giving out a link. I'm not always, because I just want you to get this. I need you to get what it is you need to get you through this day. Because sometimes that was what they needed, just to get through that day, just to get through to lunch. And they would go back at lunch and re-listen to it to get them through the rest of the day. And interestingly enough, it was what I needed too. because at that time I was still working a full-time job. So I needed that as well as we're going through all the craziness of trying to build a business and single parent and trying to run a home and all of this stuff. It's a lot. We have lives. We do. We have a lot going on. And that was just that motivation. And so some days I would just tell them, honestly, I don't even know if this message was for y'all. I think it was just for me, but I'm going to share it with y'all anyway.
Well, I find a lot, because I do, because I do a lot of ministry, and I have my Esther's Purpose conference that I do every year. And people are always saying, is there anything you haven't been through? Anything? And and I try to tell them, trust me, I wish I did not have all these stripes. If it was my choice, I wouldn't have any. So, but the good thing is because we have those stripes and things, we can help a broad range of people. And even when I was telling you, I laughed at you when you lifted up your cards, because if you could see my desk, and I don't want anybody to ever see it, I write on everything. I will write on an envelope. I don't care what it is. If I can't find something, just to get it out of my head. So yes, ma'am, we do that. So that's great that it started like that. Because I know when I listen to the morning prayers, because even though I'm a very energetic person, sometimes in the morning, I'm just not ready. I'm not ready. And so, because you usually come on when I'm on my way to work, so I have to watch you in the evening. But if I can sneak just a minute on my way to work and have it on my phone driving, but I'd have hands free and I can listen to her through my car. So when I'm driving, but it helps when people can help us get our day started, because everybody's they're not ready. And we don't dump before we go to bed, so we get up in the morning with it. So it so helps when somebody's on there that you can say, you know what, she does know how I feel, so let me listen to her so I can, get this stuff up and out so I can go to work, and do what I need to do. So tell me about, what you just got finished doing. That World Voice.
Oh my goodness. So
yes.
We talked about earlier where, everything that I'm connected to is about the voice. And it's because for the longest time, as someone who was a people pleaser, you don't really have a voice. You don't really know what you like, what you love. Even as far as you may not even know your favorite color, you don't know what kind of food you like, because you're always trying to please those you're around. So you're trying to accept what they do and mimic them in order for you to be accepted. And I said, no more. No more. In 2016, when I did that whole rebranding of my business and I decided to become the face of the brand, I had to break down all of those different strongholds. So they told me I wasn't cute enough. I needed to put on makeup. I needed to have my hair was natural. Stop doing your hair natural. You need to have your nails done. And I got all of these different negative things. But I said, you know what? It's about me having my voice heard. And I'm going to show up however I need to show up. People that need it are going to show up too. And so with the World Voice Summit, I said, this year we're going to do a platform. I want to bring speakers and authors and entrepreneurs from all over the world together on one platform and say, listen, this is the information we have for you. Let's get it out there. Everything. They talked about everything from overcoming having a stroke and being able to publish 11 books after having a stroke, and or telling you how to break down the whole thing with Instagram and have that all set up. They told you everything. So we had 100+ speakers from 6 continents. Crazy numbers. And when I tell you, there was no one that showed up that did not give 100% or more. They left it all on the table. And that was what I loved about it. But I said it went even deeper than that. And so behind the scenes, people were making connections. People were getting opportunities. One person that came on, he had published his first book. he was in the process of being evicted from his home, and he still came on. And we found out afterwards his landlord gave him another month.
Yes. Yes.
Like, it was like, when I tell you, it was powerful like that type of powerful. To, one of the speakers, when he was done his segment, he said, all right, I want to pray. He prayed over the whole summit. He prayed over everyone that was going to be attached to it. And he said, this is only the beginning. He said, what you have now is going to be the foundation for what you're about to do. And I was boo-hooing and crying, but just listening to the messages and those who were coming on, who were saying, I've been on other summits and they've been nothing like this. The engagement, the support, this is crazy. And then you're doing it 28 days straight. That's bananas. Man, we had people coming in. One gentleman was from Hong Kong. So it was 4 a.m. where he was when we were doing the summit, and he came on. We had other people. The person that came in from Australia, it was the next day where she was. So it was just crazy, but it gave people an opportunity to say, my voice is necessary. My message, my story, it may not be for me to stand on a stage in front of 5,000. It may be for me to stand on a stage in front of 50. But there's somebody that needs what I've been through, and I often explain it to them like this, what you have to offer is a blood donation. There's somebody somewhere with a blood that needs a blood transfusion. Will you let them live or die? That's the decision we make when we have our voice heard. When we decide to say yes to the interview, yes to writing the book, yes to the opportunity, we are saying, you know what? I'm not going to allow people to die on my watch.
Ooh, yes. And that's what's good about you gave that opening, because even, some of the ones that I listened to and I thought, wow, so it was real good. And now before we transition, and because I'm, of course, at the end, I'm going to have you give everybody your handles, how to contact you if they want to talk to you, if they have questions for you, if they want to hear more about the World Voice Summit, if you're going to do it again. So we're going to ask that question, but I want to just talk about this real quick. I did a lot of it with Brian last week, but you are one of the 32 contributing authors to this book. This book, I think I was one of the first ones to get it, because I ordered it right now. As soon as it was good, I was like, ugh. And I was like, no, and I want it tomorrow. No, I'm not waiting. I went on Amazon. I told Brian when I read the first 3 chapters, I was telling him, and I just put it on Messenger, right? He was like, Valerie, will you just copy and paste this just the way it is and put it on Amazon for a review? And I was like, yeah. And I did that, but so I have really, and enjoying is really not a good word, because it's making me do some work, and I love it. I love the work that it's making me do, because even though I've had my conference all of these years, and I talk about my life a lot, I still didn't have that. And I became a member of Black Speakers Network last year, because I wanted to try to do that. And every time I thought I defined it, I said, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. So after the first 3 chapters, I was actually able to say, here's my audience. And it came right at the right time, because I did a virtual workshop and was able to use it the very first time. And I was so excited. I said, yes, the book works. Y'all need to get the book. But I want to go to yours. You have your audience in the palm of your hand, unlocking the power of live video. Now, you talked about that to us already, and I said, oh, she's just going to take my whole thing. But what I want you to talk about is this, if you don't mind, is about this Be Heard 5-Day Challenge. Can you just talk to us about that just a little bit, for somebody who's heard you and heard everything you're talking about? Say, I want to do that, but I'm still scared. Not sure how to go in there and get it. Would you just give them that before we close tonight?
So yes, that 5-day challenge is, a lot of times when people talk about being heard, on social media. Social media is noisy. It's a lot going on. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of chatter. But being heard on social media is not so much about you posting a flyer. It's more about you having a conversation. And so literally the 5-day challenge is I give you some things to talk to people about, to open up the dialogue, to have that conversation. And you can use it on any platform. I've used it on several platforms. I love it on, well, of course, on Facebook, but I love it on Instagram and also on LinkedIn. It's great for over there as well. But it's just getting out there. We gotta get out there. We gotta go ahead and have the conversations and talk about some of the things that, we don't really want to talk about sometimes. It's interesting because you see the most engagement when people are talking about some stuff that kind of rubs you the wrong way.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's when you see all types of engagement. You hear all types of conversation and responses, but it's because you're opening up the dialogue. Now, it's not always opened up on purpose, but we're going to open it up on purpose. So that's what I did. I opened up that opportunity. It's in my free Facebook group over there. If you go to the World Voice League, hashtag World Voice League, and it will say empowering the world to use their voice. It's a free Facebook group. Come on over, and the 5-day challenge is right there in there with it. Also with other opportunities for you to have your voice heard. But it's just literally, it's that conversation. And it's interesting because even when we think about businesses today, they don't really have that conversation. Or even when we think about networking, so people are so accustomed to the 500 business card model that we really don't see people having real conversations as much as they need to. And so when we go ahead and have those conversations, great things can happen. And that's what it's all about, is being heard at 5 days.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it was awesome when I read it, and I said, "Oh, I need to take this challenge myself." As much as I never, and I'm sure people are thinking, "You already on, and what you got to do?" No. You got to get the book. You need to go on her and connect with her and let her walk you through this. I mean, it's awesome. So you can get your story out, because again, all of us have it, and we just got to get brave and going out there and do it. But Altaviz, I thank you so very much for taking out your time, because you are super busy, and I know it. And when you said yes, I was like, woo, yes. If I could have all 32 people on here, I would. But some have already said, ooh, my schedule is tight. Ooh, you know what? I'm just not taking anything right now. And that's cool, because I need you to get the book. To get the book, and you'll hear them. But the people that I could get to come on, I just so appreciate y'all. But Altaviz, tell them, okay, you know what? I like what she said. I want to, connect with her. I want to follow her. Tell my audience how to do that.
Definitely. So you can connect with me I'm at World Voice League on Instagram, on Facebook, on Periscope, on LinkedIn, at World Voice League. You can definitely connect with us. And like I said, we have the free Facebook group. If you put in hashtag World Voice League, empowering the world to have their voice heard, then you'll see the group. It's free. Just go on and do a request to join us. But not only that, if you're saying that, you know what, I'm ready to have my voice heard. Like, I hear you. And even if you've been in business for quite some time, or you've been, you've already published a book, there's ways for you to still have your voice heard and expanded. So with that being said, by all means, set up a time to talk with me by going to bit.ly/talk to Altaviz. I would love to help you find your voice and have it heard in the world.
All right now. So you guys heard it now. So you guys go on there and you guys talk to her. And thank you all so much for watching our show tonight. Thank you so much, Altaviz Pelzer, for coming on with us tonight. I also want to remind our viewing and listening audience with this as well, that you all know that you all watch us on Monday night at 7:30, but you can also, if you want to listen to Altaviz again and hear what she's saying again, you can also, you can go to wytv7.org. We do have a 24 hours TV there now as well. You can go to Spreaker, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spotify, TuneIn, Twitter, LinkedIn, BeanPod, and FM Player. We're in a lot of sources where you can go back and you can listen and listen and listen to all of the shows from the beginning when I started them last year all the way up to current. And you can just keep listening to them. And then again, connect with those that you feel like, I want to connect with that individual, find out what they're doing. So I want to thank you all again for watching. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.